Lakeland Barnes, and I am a senior at Savannah State University, majoring in political science.
And my name is Seth Washington, native of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm a junior studying political science at North Carolina A&T.
And we have the honor of introducing the legendary Mr. LeRoy Pernell. LeRoy Pernell has been credited with being the longest-serving Black law school dean in the nation. He has served the FAMU community for over 21 years, and he has been recognized by school and government officials for his work in the community. Although Mr. Pernell has many accolades underneath his belt, this has not always been his reality. Mr. Pernell grew up in the impoverished Bedford-Stuyvesant community, and along with that, he watched his mother growing up to, sorry y'all, I'm getting a little sidetracked. He watched his mother struggle to take care of him and his brother. Being the first in his family to graduate high school and college, Mr. Pernell sought to give people in his community a voice. During his time at Franklin and Marshall College and his work in the civil rights movement, he and his desire to advocate for people propelled him toward his career in law. When asked what it meant to be a rattler for justice, Mr. Pernell expressed that it meant making a transformative difference in the world around you. For people who look like us, we are told not to dream big, that our future is mapped out for us. But despite all the odds and obstacles along the way, Mr. Pernell has prevailed and has become a role model for me and aspiring Black lawyers alike.
It's really hard to follow the introduction, but I'm going to try. So, as I was reading the bio of Esquire Pernell, I came across this quote. It said, "No kid like you, in other words, Black, could have achieved that score, honestly. I was made to take the test the second time, and I got only one answer wrong the second time." Mr. Pernell said that. I found this quote to be very profound in his bio. Why? Because Mr. Pernell, he was counted out before he was ever counted in. And as minorities, we're often counted out before we have the chance to be counted in either. And it was very profound that he could think like this at that time, because not many people were thinking like that at all. But in that face of adversity, what did Mr. Pernell do? He rose, he kept fighting, and he pressed on against all the doubters and the naysayers. He proved everyone wrong. And we can all take a page out of that book of Esquire Pernell. There's no other way to honor him. We can merely talk about what he did or talk about how he did it. There's no better way to honor him than to imitate his actions and pay it forward to the future generation, because that is our duty, is to pay it forward. So with no further ado, Esquire LeRoy Pernell.
You know, I think the craziest thing is I was sitting there thinking about things I might say, and these two just said it all so profoundly and much more beautifully than I ever could. So I thank you. Thank you for this. And I thank everyone for this honor and this recognition. But I do have a confession to make about it. Everything that I've been able to maybe contribute over the past 40 years or so in legal education, I've done for selfish reasons, very selfish reasons. And what was selfish was that everybody that I've ever felt that I could help to achieve their dream, I saw in them, and I see in each one of you myself. I see me. So I can help you, I'm helping me. And that's the self that, to me, has certainly try to make it a part of my life, whether it's working with, I've had the privilege of being on the faculty of 3 different law schools across the nation. I've worked with Clio, and I've worked with any number of things, but when I see the success that you have, and Attorney Jones, thank you. Thank you for your wonderful words and your story and your inspiration. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but she gave such a beautiful testimony that I think mine would pale in comparison, but I would just mention about the importance of getting back up. When I was in undergrad school, I was involved in a lot of things in terms of civil rights issues. It may have been true there was a demonstration around, I wasn't there. And as a result, one of the consequences of that activity was academically. After my first year of college, I was done. I got my little letter. Now, if you, during that particular time, would have that happen to you and you're a young black man at that point, the additional issue was, unfortunately, there was someone else who wanted me, and it was the United States Army. And they had a place for me over in some rice paddy called Vietnam, which I spent a lot of time letting it be known my feelings about that situation. And Attorney Jones, like you, I sat down, I did my crying, I pulled out, and this is a true story, I pulled out a brochure for each of the military services and said, okay, now which uniform looks best? Because it looked like I'm not going to be pursuing my dream. But I was able to get back up. And come back and make it from one dean's list to the other, I guess. And I've always tried to tell students when taking on the challenge of law school, it's a magnificent profession. You can do so many things by making transformative difference in the world around you, but it is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the persons who are not willing to dedicate the time and the energy and focus and talent in getting it done. And so I have a feeling that the people in this room can do that. And I encourage you to do that. And don't let anyone else define for you who you are and what you can do. Along that line, I feel I might have to give, like, most people in the room would not remember a radio personality called Paul Harvey. But like Paul Harvey, I'm going to give you the rest of the story about that quote on the that quote about what a boy like you can't do comes from an incident when I was in junior high school, and we'd gone through some things where, you know, I'm from Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. I don't know if anybody else here from Brooklyn, but I'm from Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and we spent with my mother, myself, my younger brother. Let me just put it this way: we know all the benefits of eating welfare cheese. That was the good part, the powdered milk, not so much. And, you know, being homeless, having to ask storekeepers to let us sleep in their back. And one day I was in junior high school, and they make you take these exams. You know, I don't know. Like, you sit down, you take an exam. They say, sit down, it's time for you to take an exam. All right, I'll take an exam. I don't know if it was PSAT, AST, ABC, or whatever it was. So I sat down, I take the exam, and I don't think about it. I just keep going down to class, and a few weeks later, someone comes up to me and says, the dean needs to see you. Now, you all probably don't have this experience, but let me just tell you, when you're in junior high or the high level, the dean needing to see you is not a good thing, because the dean was usually the gym teacher who had the power of physically persuading you to do better with whatever it is you were doing wrong. So I'm trying to go through the list of things I've done, and I said, no, I didn't cut class, I didn't fight with anybody. I don't know why the dean wants to see me. So they brought me in there, they sat me down, and I still can see it in my mind. There was a panel of individuals, and the dean was there and several other people, and they looked at me and they said, we want to know who your accomplice was. We want to know, when did you break into the school? And I'm saying, I don't know what you're talking about. And they went on like that for a while, and then finally one of them said, well, we got these scores back from this aptitude test, and you have a perfect score, and no kid like you could have that. And as a result, I still didn't know what you're talking about. As a result, and I went back and verified it a few years ago, my school record has 2 scores. They made me take it a second time. And I always say, well, maybe they were right, because the second time I got one wrong. But don't let other people define you. Don't let other people deter you from the justice that you need for yourself, for your family, and for your neighborhood. That's what this is all about. It's all ultimately about justice. Now, I'm probably going to upset someone by saying this, but let me close by mentioning, I try to tell students coming in, if you're going to law school just so you can make a lot of money, don't go. We don't need anybody else who just wants to make a lot of money. Now, I know that might, I want to make money. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't make a lot of money. I'm not saying that at all. But if your purpose is not to make the world better around you, whether you're in the courtroom or the boardroom, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whatever it is you're going to be doing, if your purpose is not to make the world better around you, then the profession doesn't need you. I think I'm looking here at people who know that. I think I'm looking here at people like Attorney Jones, who does that. And I'm just so pleased. And I had an opportunity to talk to a couple of you about your law school aspirations. And I just get excited all over again to hear that, to know that you still have the chance to take on this society we live in at probably the most dangerous time in our community's history. I know some of you say, oh, well, what about civil rights? What about slavery? What about this, that? I'm here to tell you the most dangerous time in our community's history is right now. And you are the key to changing that. Please do that. Thank you.